We're live now. Hi, this is Bevan Bucheister, and I'm the chair of the Annapolis Environmental Commission. Welcome the public to our meeting Wednesday, July 9th. I just wanted to call the meeting to order. We are starting at 7:30. Our agenda said 7 o'clock, but we had a little delay because another commission was holding a meeting on the same channel in front of us. So just wanted to note that for the record. So I'd like to call roll now and just put on the record that Bevan Bucheister is here. I'm the chair. Mike Giblin, vice chair. Do the other members want to chime in and let me know you're here?
Sure, Bill O'Leary.
Okay.
Ann Stevenson.
This is Kate Bohannon.
Do we have any other members? Oh, hi,
Randy Rao.
So any other members? Okay. And staff, we also have staff here. Would you like to identify yourself?
Jackie Gild, OEP.
Tammy Hook, recorder.
Racine Hodo, OEP.
Joe Albright with Office of Law.
Right. All right, thanks everybody. It looks like we have a quorum, so we can move to the approval of the minutes. We have February, March, and June minutes to approve this meeting, so I hope you all have read them. And I want to invite comments from the members on any corrections to minutes. I have a few corrections to the minutes. They're very brief though. But do any of the members have corrections to the minutes for February, March, and June? I'm just going to go through all corrections and then we'll move to approve them all at the same time. So any corrections to February minutes?
No.
No.
Okay. All right, so I just had under updates, the heading was Environmental Matters Commission, and it was the committee. It should read committee, not commission. All right, so there's no other updates to February 5th. We'll move on to the March 4th minutes. And I'll ask members to give us any corrections to the March 4th minutes. Okay, so I had a correction there on under the plastic bag ban discussion. There was some reference to charging a fee because they are making money, and I think it referred to the city as making money on this. So that I just wanted that part deleted because the city's not trying to make money on this fee. They were just, I think, trying to recoup the administrative expenses. So I wanted to just delete that part under the plastic bag ban. All right, moving on to the June 3rd minutes. Did anybody have any corrections?
No.
Okay, I wanted to check with Kate on that under the critical area section where it was explaining about the deck was considered pervious. Because
Yeah, I read through that and it was worded a little funny, but I think it is accurate.
Right, but the deck was considered pervious. It wasn't because it had slats in between it. It was because there was no room between the slats, right? I think that's
the
what
argument is.
It was impervious, sorry.
Oh, right. It should say because there's no water absorption, or it's the soil pack underneath it is what they were saying.
Right.
So
Impervious because there was no room between the slats for the soil, for the water to go through, right?
well, and the soil, they did that study of the soil and it was so compacted in clay or something that it didn't actually
Right.
So Racine, I'll send you, why don't I email you just a new sentence summarizing that? Does that work for you?
So Kate, you would send it to me and it would work wonderful. I'd
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yep, that's 3B on- Yeah. so.
Right, so thank you, and tell me which one you want to have removed as well. And Mr. Giblin had a few changes that was also incorporated.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Is
well,
what you sent us?
Yeah, to the June minutes. They were small changes, but he had some changes as well. So Bevan, back pedaling to the March minutes, I'm a little confused where you want me to make that change. So can you help me out there?
We're under the plastic bag ban. It says, there's a sentence right at the bottom of that section that says, it's like they are making money off of it. Let's see, let me try to open it up.
Ms. Savage, the purpose of the fee is to drive behavior. Legislation.
All right, let me open it up.
Okay, so it's in the motion, maybe? I apologize, I can't
No,
see
it
it.
was in the discussion on the plastic bag ban.
Is it the sentence that says there will be a fee on paper bags of 20 cents for the larger grocery stores? Is it that one? Do you want me to move that out?
Let's see, I'm opening it up right now.
Sure,
Right.
thanks.
Oh. Okay.
Fee. Will be a fee on paper bags of 20 cents for the larger. Yeah, I think that's the sentence you want removed.
It's the second to last sentence. It says, Alderman Savage noted that the state has removed the fee, but is considering allowing individual jurisdictions to have a fee because they are making money.
Oh, that's not clear, but
That just,
yeah.
I just think we should just stop that sentence at fee because individual jurisdictions aren't
Yeah,
making
right.
money off of this. So I
right,
think we should
yeah.
keep that sentence at fee. And
No,
then-
it really wasn't intended that the jurisdictions were making money. So yeah, I agree with that. Let's just remove that. Thanks.
Mhm. And then moving on to the June 3rd minutes, there was something in there in section 6 about the composting that the third sentence, and they were getting food waste from wastewater treatment plants. So there is no food waste from wastewater treatment plants. That's all sewage. So I think that was, you can delete food waste.
Which one is that?
Section 6 on the June 3rd minutes. It was under the composting discussion.
Okay. The city is currently paying for disposal of wastes. Oh, so you want to say take the food waste out of there?
Right. And I think it also said wastewater. And Jackie, could you correct me? We weren't going to send wastewater to the composting.
No, so what was coming out of the water reclamation facility are biosolids.
Uh-huh.
So
So the
something about
biosol-
wastewater organics, is that, so you want that moved out?
Oh, so we should keep yard waste and then what, biosolids?
Biosolids generated by the water reclamation facility
Okay,
Those solids.
and food waste.
and yard waste,
Yeah, keep yard waste, that's in there.
right? Because that goes to PG County right now.
Right, okay. So yard waste is in there and then biosolids from the water reclamation facility and then food waste, right? Food waste is in there too. So we'll take out wastewater organic waste.
Right.
Okay. And put biosolids generated by the Annapolis wastewater treatment plant?
Water reclamation facility.
Water reclamation.
And is that the same thing as our wastewater treatment plant?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just wanted to check. I didn't know if we had something different out there. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, those are all my changes to the minutes. Does anybody have any other changes to the minutes? All right, can we get a motion to approve all 3 minutes? Then February 5th, March 4th, and June 3rd?
I move to approve all 3 minutes as amended.
I second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Now we're finally all caught up. I wanted to also discuss whether we should have a meeting in August. mostly the city council does not meet in August, so we usually take August off, and I don't think there's anything pressing on our agenda that needs to be decided in August, especially since the council's not meeting. So I hope you all are in agreement that we do not need to meet in August. Does anybody object to that and want to meet in August? Okay, maybe we can get some of our action items done on our like ad hoc subcommittees in August then. Sorry, was somebody gonna mention something? Okay. All right, so we will not have a meeting in August then. All right, and before we go into the agenda that we had posted, I wanted to cover the action items that we had from last month. And that was starting with the critical area, the interpretation of that lot coverage that we were just talking about. So Kate, you drafted a letter about the critical area, right? And the critical area commission, or you contacted the critical area commission, right? I'm not sure if Kate Bohannon, are you still there? Right. She might have,
Sorry, I had a baby thing.
that's right.
I missed whatever you just said.
You had contacted the critical area commission about that issue with the area being pervious or considered pervious, but it was a deck and it didn't comply with state law because decks were pervious, not impervious. So do you want to update that?
Sure. Let me find the email. So I did get a response, and it wasn't a very unfortunately, it just wasn't a very satisfactory one. It seems like even though we know that this doesn't make any sense, it is still within the way the law is written. So I guess the point is that there's still sufficient lot coverage, even if they did have this existing deck. There's something to do with that formula. But I think that the thing we might want to do as a commission is maybe try to close some of these loopholes. There just seems to be so many of them. And so I'm kind of at a loss for how to even go about solving the broader issue, other than just going one by one situational and trying to get them tightened up.
I mean, I looked at the law too, the critical area law last month, and they seem to have covered so many situations in that law, but then when it's actually applied to a situation, I think the developers all know how to get around it.
Yeah.
And it just seems like everybody gets to develop everything they want in the critical area, and it's even in the buffer of the critical area. This was in the buffer zones, the first 100 foot, and the critical area is first 1,000 feet. So you know, maybe we can just decide to look into this a little.
So, Beto, just so for everyone's clear on this issue, what I believe what was happening was the homeowner, when they built their deck, because there's some gaps in a normal constructed wood deck, they considered it permeable. And they then wanted to build above it and perhaps enclose that deck. And that we're trying to argue now that no, it's actually impermeable, and therefore we are not building in the critical area. We do not need a variance. And they even had a ground, I think planning and zoning or someone recommended that a hydrologic study be performed, and that study showed because of ground compaction that there is no water actually infiltrating into the ground to any great extent. And that helps support their argument that it was actually an impermeable area. So is that the correct description of what was going on there, Kate?
Yes, that's accurate. And I think the issue is really two things. One, there's this lot coverage issue that I guess that was considered permeable, but it really wasn't. So it doesn't contribute to the lot coverage. And then also there's a lot of, what's the word? Discretion in the law based on what we learned from the critical area commission director, that each each jurisdiction can determine when something is permeable and not. It's just so disappointing that it's so open-ended like that. And I'm not even sure how we respond to that. Because if it was a word change or if there needed to be some kind of formula revision, that'd be one thing, but it's more about discretion, right?
Yeah. Well, may I suggest that we talk to the Critical Area Commission and find out what other jurisdictions do, because it just seems like there's a, you know, a loophole for everything almost. And, you know, all
Yeah.
our trees get to be taken down because we're already in the intensely developed area. That doesn't make any sense. We should try and save our trees. I think we should, you know, talk to them and see what other jurisdictions do. I know some other jurisdictions have tightened theirs up.
Okay. Yeah, I can follow back up with her. I mean, she was really responsive, so that's good. But yeah, I'm just not sure. Yeah, let me follow up on it and see if we can come
Okay.
up with a clear recommendation. Because if we recommend a change, I'd want to be clear on what it is, and I'm just not at the point. I just don't see something really obvious to tweak,
Right.
other than just encouraging them to use discretion, which I feel like we're often doing. When it comes to stormwater issues in particular.
Right. All right, thanks, Kate. So you're gonna follow up on that. I've got that.
Yeah, I can do that.
And Mike, you're tracking our action items this time? So we can send them and read them out at the end of the meeting?
Yes, I am tracking those.
All right, thanks. So we had a public works building update. I know, Anne, I think you attended a virtual meeting on that and got some information about that. We had expressed interest in them being a lead by example project for conservation and green building and things like that.
Yes, so I attended the streaming YouTube meeting about 2 weeks ago, and then earlier this week, Jackie and I had a meeting with the program team for the site, and that was really helpful because I was able to understand the timeline for the project and when we might sort of comment and participate in the process a little better. They're hoping to break ground next spring or early summer, and they're hoping this fall to have final drawings that would go to the Planning Commission. It has to go to the appeals board too, maybe, Jackie, and it'll have to come to us because there's a tweak in the forest conservation easement as part of the current conceptual drawings. Right now, they're inviting public comment on the conceptual drawings. I drafted comments, many of which are actually questions for your review. I'm hoping to get your approval of those comments today so we can send them in so that they could potentially reflect some of those things in the next phase. But then, and as part of that letter, I've requested that they participate in our September meeting because that seems like it should be good timing for their sort of particular forest conservation discussion. And the team that we spoke with on Tuesday asked for us to provide a little more detail on what we would be most interested in speaking about at an AEC meeting about the project so that they had the right folks on the call. So you'll see in the notes that I shared with you earlier today that I hoped that they would speak to the sort of intersection of site design and creek restoration, site design and stormwater management. And so, that some of our comments and questions are around the green building designs and energy efficient features, but that need not be the focus of the presentation that they make to our group.
Oh, so why would they not talk about the green building and the energy efficient features?
Certainly they could. I guess I was just thinking that if they needed to make a detailed presentation to our group and couldn't cover everything in as great of detail as,
Right.
we don't have a 4-hour meeting, but so they could focus on some of the questions around, the salt dome and
So I didn't see
water management on
I
site.
didn't have time to look at your um,
Yeah.
earlier today. I've worked right through and then now this. So basically, what were your comments on there?
I asked, so on Tuesday, I was able to clear up some just procedural questions that I had and questions around the sort of creek and the previous clearing of the site. And so those are not included in the current comments because we were able to sort of figure out what the baseline is now. I see Jackie nodding. Hopefully she can chime in and help me remember what happened on Tuesday. My questions were about the sort of general approach to the site, given that it is an opportunity to lead by example and be a demonstration of green design and energy efficient building practices and resilient site design, and how they were imagining sort of taking advantage of the site's demonstration potential and educational opportunities. There were some questions that I had around the buildings themselves that were not clear in the conceptual drawing presentation that I attended. And so those remain sort of clarifying questions. And I asked, I think, something that I've learned from you all is that the runoff from the salt dome on the current site killed the rain garden at the current site. And so I asked a question about that. And I also asked if the team was considering permeable paving and the opportunity to demonstrate different permeable paving technologies and other technologies on this site, given that they're something that comes up in other potential projects across the city, but we can't sort of settle on specific materials or technologies. I think that's a place where we can sort of nudge the team a bit. But they, seem very excited about the environmental and energy aspects of the design and the potential to collaborate with the Severn Riverkeeper on creek restoration as part of the project or sort of adjacent to the project. And I imagine that the other folks on the commission who are more knowledgeable about site planning and stormwater management might find other opportunities to comment and provide suggestions on either the conceptual or the final drawings. But we don't, I think right now we just sort of have them as YouTube, screenshots, not as something that you can really zoom in on. So one thing you might consider, Bevan, is we just sort of formally ask for more detailed drawings that we could then provide additional comments on. I don't, I appreciate that that's where like say you and Kate have a great deal more experience than I do and might see some things that I've missed.
So where they are right now is they're not quite sure exactly how the whole project will be funded. So when Mike Johnson is the new director of Public Works, that's starting on Monday. And that's one of the questions for him will be, how will this project be completely funded? And that will feed into what the design looks like how extensive it can be. One thing that was mentioned by Betsy McCown, who's the project manager, is that right now by code, the city is required to do gold LEED standards with the building, silver. But I suggested that they look at gold, and Betsy said in that conversation that they are indeed going to do the cost benefit of looking at whether we can afford to do gold standard on the building itself. And then I went on a site walk a week ago with the Severn River Keeper and Underwood and Associates and many members of Public Works. And so it's a long, we were basically bushwhacking through dense forest, poison ivy, and it's a long stream bed, but part of it feeds right behind 39 Hudson. And some of it's more eroded than in other places. There's different things to be done. It would have to be, if we did the entire stream bed, it would be a phased project. But what Public Works is considering most immediately is the drainage area downhill of the site itself. It's a little marshy back there, some wetlands, not terribly eroded right now, but what they're considering on site right now is a step pool conveyance system. That's one piece of what they're considering immediately doing there. So the project obviously would be bid out, not just Underwood's potential contractor for it, and that's who Severn River Keeper works with. But so some funding we're hoping would come through a grant, largely through a grant, and then the county could kick in some money, and then the city would kick in some money. The county, Eric Michelson was on that walk with us well from the county. So this would be a joint project there. So where we left it was at this point, because design is, we're not at that stage yet, but my suggestion was sooner rather than later. As we get into that design process, it would be beneficial from this group to put in some comments, like taking what Ann's questions are and building on them, to say, consider X, Y, and Z to build in for energy efficiency, do a stream restoration, make sure that the stormwater is being treated. Well, they have to do 125% on the site, it's new development. But that makes sure that's adequately addressed. And this, I understand you're considering a step pool conveyance system, what other stormwater controls are we doing to protect the creek there? And anything else you want to throw in that if we have particular suggestions, such as permeable pavers, where it makes sense. Now, with that, I know you're really interested in that, Bevan, but these are heavy trucks. So not all of the areas would be conducive to permeable pavers, but perhaps, as Ann suggested during our conversation, the staff parking area might be a good place for it. They are considering a green roof for that building and solar.
I think Ann's letter is pretty thorough. I really admire the amount of work that she's put into it and how detailed it is. I think what we ought to do is go ahead and send it in, and so we can go on record with our starting point for the review of this project. And as they develop their drawings to more closer to drawings for construction, we'll have already put our mark on the whole project and the kinds of things we're going to be looking for. So I would move that we forward Ann's letter to the addressees.
I would caution on this though, because the letter was sent today and I really haven't even looked at it, and I'm sure everybody else hasn't looked at it either. So I'm really not comfortable sending a letter that nobody's set eyes on. But like, what's the timing for getting comments in? And
they initially requested that comments be submitted on July 2nd, and so we're behind. I wanted to have some of the sort of basic questions that I had about their process answered before I provided you all with comments. And so it's my fault that we met on Tuesday and I only got it around to you today at lunchtime. I appreciate that. What I don't know is if I can send them comments if we don't vote on them today. So
I don't think you're too late to do this in September. They don't have a design concept yet. The new public works director is not even starting until Monday.
right.
There's a lot of considerations like how they're going to fund this, how extensive can the building be because of funding. So I think if you put together Ann's questions into a letter form and even wanted to add to that and then voted on it in September, you're not going to be too late.
And also we could, and we've done this before when we wanted to get comments in, you know, quickly. We could just call a meeting for, you know, everybody read the letter. We have to, you know, post the letter so other people can see it, so they can see what we're talking about. And we can have it.
Who do we have to post it for? I emailed it to all of our committee members.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we don't have to post it, but we do have to, you know, have eyes on it and discuss it. So we could just have a special meeting just to talk about the letter and just go through the letter.
Okay, I'm
So,
sorry.
I mean, we could do that in a week or two, you know. I mean, we don't have to wait till September. But I'm not gonna make a motion to approve a letter on our behalf that nobody's read yet.
And this isn't the only opportunity you'll have to comment. This is just, you know, a good idea to get things in early while they're in design and the early stages of design. And
Right.
of course, you don't want to wait till they have a final design, 'cause, you know, it's always
Right.
tougher to
Right.
get changes made at that
So
point.
you all want to meet? I mean, Hillary, can we meet in like a week from now
Well-
and just for this letter?
Well, Mike read it. I mean, Mike, what did you find that was, what was it? Why did you think it was a good letter? I mean, I guess I just feel like if two of our members are in favor, then maybe that's.
No,
I thought Ann asked a lot of good
Letter and the
questions that
one-
I'd like to see the Department of Public Works to focus on, and it lets them know that those are the kinds of issues that we're going to be tracking on this project.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I thought it was a good write-up, and I thought it was a good suggestion to have them come to our September meeting.
I agree with that too.
Okay. So if they come to the meeting, is it better to send them a letter before the meeting, or we maybe could send it after? Is that,
Well, if you
And
send
what
it
is-
before the meeting, then they know what to focus on their
Yeah.
presentation.
yeah. I mean, okay, I guess we can have another meeting. I just, ugh.
I know, I clearly missed the boat in getting it to you earlier, and I apologize.
No, that's all right. I mean, Jackie says they don't even know how they're gonna fund it yet, so I don't think there's a rush to like get this approved tonight, but we need more than a couple hours. I mean, I've been at work all day.
Yeah, you've made that point, Bevan, and I've apologized, and I'm sorry.
No, I'm
We
not
can
asking
move
for
on.
apology. I'm just saying, I don't think we should move to, I wouldn't do it to anybody else either, you know, to like say, let's move something that you haven't looked at yet. I just don't think that's the right process. So if you all agree, you want to meet in a week, we can read the letter. We can go through the, you know, the different points of the letter. It can be a short meeting, half an hour probably.
It looks like next Wednesday is available if you're looking for a meeting date.
Okay. So who's available next Wednesday?
I'm available.
Okay.
I'd be available.
All right.
Hillary, what time next Wednesday?
It looks like Wednesday is open for boards and commissions, so whatever time works for you.
Wednesday at 7 p.m.?
Mhm.
All right. Can anybody not make Wednesday at 7 p.m.? All right. So let's decide to meet at Wednesday at 7. Everybody, you know, come having read the letter. We'll just walk through the different provisions and we'll just get it done.
And I'll see if the team can't also share the PowerPoint slides, so you all don't have to watch the YouTube video, and maybe we'd be able to zoom in on some of the
Okay.
features if they have.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And just to finish this conversation on Public Works, Betsy also shared with me and Jackie the list of all of the capital improvement projects. And one suggestion Betsy made was to cover all of them in a potential presentation to the AEC. She brought up that, you know, there are a number of projects that are underway or are soon to be underway, not just 39 Hudson. And I thought that was a wonderful suggestion, and maybe something that we could do semi-annually or once a year, is having them present on the capital improvement project list.
Oh, yeah.
And I included a request to do that in September as well, with your permission.
So I provided that list, I know, to Ann and to Bevan, maybe, but
I think we
I'm
need to
not
send
sure
it to
that I gave
everyone.
it to Racine to give to all of you or not. But Racine can distribute it to everyone, so you have the complete capital improvement projects. I mean, there's probably about 7 that we would really be interested in, from MS4, stormwater, sewer, environmental. No, not that one, Racine. That's the updates to what we're doing, but that's nice to have too. So, you can have it, you can go through it at your leisure, and it was just released this week, I think yesterday. So I got it out to Ann and Bevan and Racine, I think. And then everyone can look at that list and see what they're interested in commenting on. Now, Public Works facility is on there, the new composting facility is on there, and some upgrades to sewer and wastewater. So that could be for another agenda.
Yeah, and Jackie, could you help us identify the 7 or the one?
Yeah, I went through it and I marked what I thought was be of most interest to this group.
All
So
right.
I can provide those updates, like highlights to you.
Also, can you invite Betsy McEwen to our next meeting, or should we do that?
Yeah, I can do that. I can see if she's available. Evenings are sometimes a little bit difficult for the small children, but if Betsy can't, then maybe Marcia Patrick can do it.
Okay. Sure. So we're inviting them at the next meeting to give us the update on the new Public Works building and other capital improvement projects that you're going, or we can look at the list too, but you're going to help us identify.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're talking about September. We're not doing a meeting in August, correct?
Right. The other action item we had was the stormwater fee. And I believe, Kate, did you write a letter requesting the city not use the watershed restoration funds for the gray infrastructure stormwater at the Truxton Heights neighborhood?
I did, yes, and I
Okay.
sent it to, hang on, I think I just sent it to the public comment. Was I supposed to send it to the Environmental Matters, or who?
I'm not sure. It doesn't say on the action item list who we're sending that to.
Because I know I submitted it in that virtual platform, so maybe it went to the whole council on the public comment thing. I think that was what it was. And then I also did send it to David Gerald by email.
And Jackie, do you know if there's any update on that?
I didn't see that letter.
Oh yeah, here I did. I sent it on July 8th in the public comment web. So I also forwarded on to David Gerald and Public Works at Annapolis.gov.
Okay.
But I didn't receive anything back, and I haven't been tracking it, so I'm not sure where things stand. Did the budget pass, or where is the budget now?
Budget's passed.
It's passed, but I don't know if that was in it or not. So
yeah, I mean, even if it was in it, our point was the way they should use it. So I can follow up on this too. So who is the Public Works director?
Yeah. You mentioned the name. I can't remember.
His name is Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson. Okay.
He will start Monday.
Okay. With him being so new, he probably can't help us. But is there somebody in Public Works who would know what's happening with that project?
So yes, Marcia Wood and Betsy McCown is also.
Oh, right. Okay.
She's project lead for that. So Betsy's the best person, and then I would CC Marcia on it. Did you send me that letter, Kate?
I don't think well, I submitted it as public comment, but I don't think I directly sent it. I'll do that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That way I can follow up with it with Betsy and Marcia.
Okay, yeah, let me. Yep, that's an action item for me, so, yep.
Okay, so Kate, you're gonna send it to Jackie and then follow up with Betsy McEwen and Marcia, right? What's
Right.
Marcia's last name?
Patrick?
Okay.
And Marcia's the lead on the composting facility too, if you're interested in that.
Right, okay, so did that make it in the budget too? I remember we
Yeah.
talked about that.
It's in the CIP.
Okay. All right, we'll get an update on that in September then. Realize we have to move this along, and the comprehensive planning, the timing for AEC input, that was on me to do this, and I was supposed to get Mike, Bill, and Ann together to schedule a meeting to discuss, and I did not do that. So that's my bad on me.
Not too late. I know that, with COVID, Sally's a little bit behind with it.
I know, yeah, I did check with Sally, and we're
Okay.
not behind at all. I think we're ahead of other commissions, frankly.
Okay.
We did have that in-person meeting and got all that public input. So now we're just sorting it into goals and strategies. So I need to get together with you all, and I need to figure out how to get in that Google Doc. So we don't have things in 3 separate documents now. So that is on my agenda for August. So I apologize for that. Now on to our regularly scheduled agenda. We did talk about the stormwater, Truxton Heights stormwater project, public access to the waterfront. That was the next thing on our agenda. And I wanted to make a point of having this agenda item be the waterfront, but also public access to city-owned trails, because we did bring that up a couple months ago. And I did not check with Archie Trader about that, because that was something that I brought up about Waterworks Park and all the signs up there that say no trespassing, City of Annapolis. And then the trails are open. And I know the mayor's office was there and saying that that's not open to the public, and the city website says it is open to the public. So we haven't gotten that sorted out yet, but that's an issue that I still want to work on, because especially during the times of COVID, the only thing you can do is get out and recreate and go walk and bike and with that mixed message there, and people feel like they're going to get arrested and they're trespassing on the City of Annapolis property on the trails. That's not, not very friendly to the public. So I do need to follow up with Archie Trader on that. Also, I wanted to mention that we had looked at public access in Alderman Gay's ward before he was alderman. It was several years ago under the prior administration. And there was what's called a goat path. It's a path that people just walk, and it's not it's not an improved pathway. So it's just a path that people walk, and they create it from walking there. But it was a path to the water, and I believe you had to cross a street to get there as well. And we looked into getting some grants to improve that path and make it like a nice path down to the water. But the alderman at the time was not interested in it. So, we dropped that, because if they're not interested, we're not gonna do something that's against what they want to do in their jurisdiction. But, it seems like Alderman Gay's interested in getting water access for his community. So we could revive that discussion. And I believe the Conservancy probably knows more about it, because
yeah, you can check with me on that too. I'm working with Dewan Gay on a couple different projects in the community in that regard. Also, I'm working with a couple other nonprofit organizations in that same regard, access to our waterways and things like that. So if you want to reach out to me. We can talk more, just me and you about that. But I definitely have a lot of good info and intel to share on that regard.
So this is Joel Braithwaite from the Office of Law. I would say that I think that there's a groundswell of support for public access and preserving public access to waterways, not only through Alderman Gay, but also Alderman Arnett is very much interested in ensuring that that the city preserves access in the various communities. So I think that now is the time to look at projects like that, and as many projects as like that, so that way we could have a unified approach towards public access to the water, preserving public access or increasing public access to the water.
And I will note that I did work with the Bay program for many, many years, and public access was always one of our goals in the Bay agreements. And there's been, we've been making Bay agreements since, I don't know, over 20 years, I think, like that. And so there are grants available for public access, but also I learned from my time there that public access, the definition that the Department of Interior uses is, just, it's not simply the, ability to like launch a boat into the water. It's also the walkways next to the water, like downtown, where you can just walk. I mean, that's public access to the water, even if it's not access where you can launch your boat. But if you can sit on a bench and look at the water, I mean, there's many different ways people interact with the water. And because of Mayor Moyer, like in the 80s and 90s, we do have pretty much, I think, more public access in like most cities in the whole watershed because of all those street end docks that we have. So, it's hard because there's like limited street parking or else timed street parking. You can only have 2 hours, but I'm not sure the city does a really good job of publicizing that public access, so people don't know it's public access. But so would like to talk to you about that, Randy. And
sure.
Also, there's another issue that's brewing right now with SAYC. That's the yacht, not the yacht club, but the yacht basin over in Eastport that's getting redeveloped right now. And the Planning Commission did stipulate when they approved their plans that they had to provide some public access. And I think that's not in the plan anymore. So there's a problem with that. So
yeah, apply a little pressure. Or
Yeah.
just find out why, basically.
I was going to suggest that we add our voice to that, just to that point, because it's so disappointing to that's an understatement, to see that it was a condition of approval and now it's being taken back. And
yeah, so I think the city needs to take some action on this. So
yeah, we should put some pressure. Is it the Planning Commission, or is it the mayor at this point?
Well, the Planning Commission put the conditions on, but then which is the office that's supposed to enforce the conditions? I don't know, is that the Office of Law? Can the Office of Law send them something to say, this is the condition and by which you got approved? And
so planning and zoning should be enforcing that condition. At this point, what I would recommend you do is send, if you're going to put your voice behind it, send something to the mayor and the city manager.
Mm-hmm.
I say that based on the conversations I've been having on this exact issue for almost 2 years.
Okay. I would be happy to write that letter because I feel really strongly that that's just
If you want a copy, as a courtesy, Sally Nash and Tom Smith as well, you could do that.
And please also, you could include the Office of Law in the communication. I think, again, everyone, this issue is percolating and it's pertinent. So there's a lot of activity around this discussion right now. So now's a good time to have a omnibus type of discussion.
Right, and I will say that we have been focused on that project ever since before it started. And this was something that one of our former members had been pushing to keep the public access in that area. So, so what the letter, Kate, in the letter, I think we just should simply say that this public access was a stipulation of the approval that the Planning Commission put on the approval, and we would like to see that, we would like to see that as part of the completed project, and would like the city to enforce the stipulations that the Planning Commission.
Right, and it is consistent with the mayor's One Annapolis vision that everyone should share equally in our natural resources, and that he also supports the public access to the water. And where the environmental component of this comes in is that when people are able to utilize the water and interact with the water, whether it is boating, fishing, swimming, sitting by the water, enjoying it aesthetically, they tend to care more about the water and the water quality, and they appreciate it more and have a better connection with it. We need to say what our connection is environmentally, why we're commenting on it.
There's an article in the Arundel Journal that just came out today about me, and that's exactly what I was saying in the article. So y'all can check that out. I'll try to share it out today.
Yeah,
It
could
actually
you
just
send
came
that
out today.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, is that in Eastport? Is that the one in Eastport?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that definitely not only just access for Eastport, but for most people who are underserved and don't have a lot of options in that regard. I think what is really I've been seeing lately is during this COVID is a lot of partners have been connecting to particular nonprofits and leadership organizations that have the actual connections and the connections in some of these communities to actually bring about that type of bridge where you can kind of bridge some of these opportunities, make it a little more inclusive.
Yeah, is there any, I know the other thing we were tracking with this South and SAYC thing was their stormwater impacts, which we were disappointed about as far as some of the concerns there. Is there any connection with that?
There was a lot of runoff during the project.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I rode by there the other day, and they now have the parking lot paved. And I was kind of shocked to see that it's all impervious. Impervious. It's all blacktop.
Right. So is there an argument to be made that we've, they've benefited financially from this project that has environmental cost, right? And then we're not getting anything out of it. So I just don't know. Should I, in the letter, mention something about the stormwater?
No, I think that's getting off topic.
Yeah, and they've met everything they're supposed to do as far as stormwater controls. Now, what the builder promised during, got the community on board, got the community to quit fighting it, was that there would be public access, continued public access.
Weren't there violations issued though during the construction?
There were, yeah.
Yeah, see, I think that's.
I don't think that's.
That's a violation of their sediment and erosion control permit, which is now, everything is locked up, tidied up. That part of it is done. The stormwater treatment plan has been implemented. So yeah, we're beyond that at this point, but the public access part of it is still there.
Well, no, I'm not saying we should try to get them to improve their stormwater. I'm just saying that it's just yet another way that we're paying the price of this development.
It's significant. It's just another, it's not good. It wasn't good.
Yeah, so
okay.
The emphasis is to make that this was, a recommendation by the Planning Commission, that this is cutting off the only access to the water on that side of Eastport. This is also closer to some more, closer in proximity to more disadvantaged communities that already don't have a lot of access to the water. So now we're just building up the waterfront. playground for the wealthy and nobody else can access the water anymore over there.
Exactly. Yeah. Well said, Jackie.
So are we,
I motion we send a letter per the discussion we just had.
I second that.
all right,
I'm sorry, can you make that a little bit more clear?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
What?
was following it, but I didn't understand it. So,
So my motion is that the AEC would send a letter to the mayor and the city manager and copying some other people, stating that we are in strong support of public access at the SAYC.
so we want the planning and zoning should enforce.
Well, right. I'm just trying to summarize it in like 3 words so she can write it out.
Right, I know, but we want planning and zoning to enforce the public access requirements that the planning commission put in the stipulation for approval of the project.
Mhm.
so you want the planning staff to support? You said the planning staff or the planning commission?
Planning and zoning
Okay, planning and zoning to enforce.
the public access requirements that were stipulated by the planning commission as a
Condition
in their, as a condition of their approval, right?
of their approval.
Right.
Okay, got that.
I still second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Stevenson.
Thank you, Terry.
All right, and so I'd like everybody to, vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
I will once again emphasize to whoever's drafting the letter to make sure you put what the environmental connection is, the connectivity of people to the water and to caring about the water and water quality and its mental health. And it's an environmental justice issue.
Okay. Yes, I will draft the letter.
All right, and can you send us that letter before you send it out?
Sure. Yes, I'll send it around.
Great, thanks. Update on, I know it's 8:28, so I'm just want to be respectful of everybody's time and end by 9. But Providence Point, I really don't have much update on that. Our discussion last time, last meeting was we were concerned that they wanted to build out more and have a kind of escape clause in their in the restrictions on the building there. And Alan Hyatt had called me and told me that they were only thinking about building up. Tom Smith from planning also said that that's what they were thinking about, was going up in height, not spreading the footprint out. So I think we're all in agreement with that. And
That's what we told them to do a long time ago.
Yeah, right. I know. So as long as that's still the case, and we looked at the restrictions, Mike, you had sent that around, and I highlighted it for everybody last time. So I mean, it looked like it was fine. But Tom also said he would share his comments on the forest conservation plan once he reviews it. So I will forward them to you all, and we'll have that on our next agenda in September.
I'd like to comment on what you just said. While people are saying that they'll build up and not out, when you read the wording in the document itself, that doesn't come across. And so I'm thinking that 20 years from now, people said 20 years back in time, will sort of be forgotten. They'll have new faces at all the desks in City Hall.
Mhm.
And what we're really, so everyone will be hanging their hat on the words that are in the document itself. And that's something I think, if that's what they mean, they should say it.
Okay.
Agreed. I have so many concerns with that wording and just the concept of, oh, our intent is this. We just talked about how the intent at the SAYC was to have public access. So it's just more of the same sort of a, oh yeah, we're going to do that. And then
Yeah.
like it gets changed around.
So do you have alternate language to offer, Mike, to
No, I don't.
tighten that up?
It's just listening to what you've said
Mhm.
and recalling what is written in the document. I quickly came to the conclusion that
Mhm.
their words, their voiced words, will be forgotten 20 years from now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
10 minutes.
no new disturbance, no new impervious surfaces, no
Mhm.
new clearing.
And it's really behooves them to say it in the writing, not up to us to write it for them. I think we should just hold their feet to the fire on that issue.
Right. But I mean, if we're going to comment on it, and I don't think it's, there's no deadline right now to comment on it. We're going to comment on it. It's helpful to say, here's the language we prefer to see in the easement. So,
I mean, we need a lawyer, maybe someone from the Conservancy Board could weigh in. It's got to be a lawyer who can look at.
yeah, John Turgeon is on the,
Oh yeah.
we should ask him to look at it and see how he can tighten up the language. I think this is his field, and he heads the Rail Environmental Trust, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that Lanoes and Block are looking at it for the Scenic Rivers Land Trust.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Jackie, have you seen the language? Do you recall?
I've seen it. I'm just to refresh my memory. It's been a few weeks since I looked at it. Gerald Weingrad sent something to me just the other day again.
Okay. All right, so I'll ask John Turgeon to take a look at it and then talk to you, Jackie, and maybe talk to Lanoes and Blocker. Are they drafting the easement? I mean,
no, well, I can't remember the name of the law firm that's working for National Lutheran, but they looked at it, and then I know the person's name at Lanoes. It'll come to me in a second, but the Scenic Rivers Land Trust has to be happy with it before they'll take the easement. So obviously, Lanoes and Blocker will have a lot to say about it. I think that they're pretty much almost there on the language. I'll take another look at it as well, just to refresh my memory about it.
Okay.
Weingrad sent me a message just today that I did not have a chance to look at yet.
Right. All right, so we will follow up on that. And I'll copy you on the email to John to look at the language too. We already did the Public Works building update, clean vehicles for Annapolis fleet. Is there any movement on that, Jackie, or anything to report?
Yeah, I've, Dan Horwath, who's the fleet manager at Public Works, and I had a good conversation about which vehicles they can purchase now. And he thinks he can purchase 2 to 3 now. He's waiting to see, now that the budget's been approved, how much money he actually has in hand. Maybe he'll purchase as many as 5 this year. And then we're going to prepare a report for City Council, probably for a work session in September, on the inventory of the fleet, which vehicles are aging out, which ones could be replaced with electric, and if not, because of their function, size, whether they could be small, other alternative fuel vehicle. And then I will be providing the part of the report that says what the benefits are, the cost savings, maintenance savings, the things other than the environmental quality benefits. And we're going to do a combined report and do a presentation. David Gerald wants us to do a presentation probably in September.
And so when you're
Jackie?
saying by 2 to 3, is that 2 to 3 electric vehicles?
Yes, so he knows that he has funds for 2 to 3 like Chevy Bolts, just for things that we use as staff to get around and do inspections and do the regular work that the city forester or public works, does. Maybe like a Ford, like an SUV size Ford that we have, we could replace some of those, maybe 1 or 2 of those. He thinks immediately we could do that this year and then keep building from there. But we do need charging stations if we're going to have them. Then we can't put any in Hillman right now because Hillman will be removed very soon. So when Hillman is taken down, much of the fleet will move over to GOTS. So I'm refocusing on where we're putting charging stations to GOTS because that's where the city fleet will be housed temporarily, at least partially.
Well, just, I'll recognize you in a minute, but I just wanted to let you know that I was talking to the Secretary of Environment today from Maryland, and he was in the newspaper in the New York Times last week talking about the air improvement during COVID because nobody's moving, of course, and they're trying to figure out ways to keep those silver linings and institutionalize them. And they're talking about coming in with a package. I mean, they haven't figured out what it is yet, but incentivizing EV charging stations and telework. So that's good news. That you might have some money for that next year. And Anne, you went.
Oh, just a little note to you, Jackie. It may be too fast to move on, but there's an amazing deal on bolts right now.
Okay. No,
So,
this would be something that he could start ordering this summer.
Yeah, and because we're seeing lots of EVs here in Maine move now and fleet purchases in part just because they're trying to get everybody to purchase now. So it's a good time if you can swing it.
Okay.
And Jackie, I know procurement's always a hard issue, and that's it's always kind of cumbersome. And I wondered if we could partner with any other jurisdictions that are buying electric vehicles or with the state that's buying electric vehicles to get a better price on them.
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, that might be something to suggest to the administration.
Yeah.
For their incentives, like, you go out and get the contract, get a good price on them, and we'll buy a certain amount, or offer to piggyback on their procurement process.
Right. Okay.
All right. The legislation for the deputy manager for oh, I'm sorry. I didn't ask anybody else if you had any other comments about that. Sorry. All right, just bust in if I'm moving too fast. So the legislation on the deputy city manager for resiliency and sustainability, the charter amendment. Do you have an update on that, Jackie? I know we
it's winding its way through the committees. It just was before transportation and public safety this week. It will go before rules and environment next week. So it's on the agenda also for city council on Monday night. But I don't think it can be voted on because some of the other committees meet later next week until the last special city council meeting on the 27th of July.
Oh, okay.
I believe I have that done correctly because it still needs to go before environmental matters and rules on the 14th and the 15th.
So environmental 14th.
The 14th is rules and government, and then environmental matters meets on the 15th.
Okay. And we did weigh in for the public hearing on that one, but it was also referred to us. So I don't know if we have any comments to make from the public hearing. I think I was supposed to probably get the public comments from city council. Do you recall the public comments? Were there many? I mean, I know I saw some letters.
There were a fair amount of public comments in support of the position.
Okay, and did it include the AEC liaison, or who's going to be the AEC liaison? I realize that is a different part of the code, but since you're our liaison now and we would lose.
No, actually Racine is the liaison right now.
Okay. But then if this office is not, your office is our.
Yes, so
where our
if
liaison is housed,
if
so.
OEP was eliminated
Right.
and there was a DCM for resilience and sustainability, the environmental program coordinator, Racine's position, would go with this position and would remain the liaison to this group, as well as designating liaisons from planning and zoning and public works that would attend as needed.
Okay. So they did amend it to include that, or that it included? That?
Yes.
Okay, that was one of our concerns, yeah. All right, does anybody have any comments or concerns on that? Our letter supporting that will go to the Environmental Matters Committee, right? We don't have to write a new one, right?
I believe it should.
Yeah. I think it does. All right. Did anybody have any other comments on that? And can anybody cover the Environmental Matters meeting on the 15th? That's in the afternoon, right?
At 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
I can do it.
All right. Mike, can you represent us there then?
Thanks, Mike.
All right. The other issue we had on the agenda was the stormwater fee, and then the Stan Tech report, and we thought Public Works might be joining us to give us some update on that, but as they are not here, Jackie, do you have an update on that, or?
Stormwater fee was adopted as part of the budget.
Uh-huh. And what did it go from what to what?
Well, there's going to be, they've recommended, I believe it was a 2% increase. I may not get this right. It was this year, and then there would be subsequent similar increases. I'm going to get this wrong. Every year thereafter. And they're also, they voted on making the permeable surface, the formulas they use more consistent with, so that people in apartments aren't getting charged the same amount as people in single family homes. And eventually I think the city would like to move towards real precise calculations of actual impervious surface to what a homeowner has actually owns, but that's going to take a bit of data collection, and we're not there yet. So I think that would be a future approach. But the whole idea is just to make the changes that were made were to make it more equitable and how people are being charged for their stormwater fee. So commercial buildings of a certain size, I don't have all the numbers in front of me. There's between some range and another range of impermeable surface are charged a certain amount. There's different categories of those.
Mm-hmm. And how can they pass a bill that says, okay, it's going to increase every year? Don't they have to improve that every year, like increases?
I'm not sure exactly.
In future future councils to these increases?
I'm not sure about exactly what the rationales behind it.
All right. Well, we'll find out more info on that.
Yeah, we can find out more from Betsy McCown. She's the project manager on it.
So we'll ask Betsy then. that as a to-do. So our comprehensive planning AEC input, I went over that. I have not gotten our ad hoc subcommittee together yet, but I will do that for August and get our 3 different documents put into one. So I think, yeah.
Evan, given that we're meeting next week, is there anything that we could do as the larger group? Just thinking out loud.
Oh, to get it put into one doc for next week.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't really have any, it's probably more work than we can do before next week to vote on anything. I'm just realizing that if we're meeting again,
Well,
can we?
The public comment was, I mean, that's what we're sorting right now is all the public comment. So I feel like we should just, I think we should just give that probably unfiltered to Sally, but we wanted to organize it nicely for her. And then we have our stuff too. So I think we need to vote on our stuff that we are forwarding as our comment, our input to the plan. Because when we had our meeting with the
And
public,
we didn't vote on that, like, I don't know, 6 months ago or something.
yeah, but we only had about 3 things. So we wanted to look and see if we wanted to lift some stuff from the public comment and add that to our stuff.
I see, to flesh ours out.
Yeah. I think we only had about, 3 or 4 things. So
Yeah, I mean, but I kind of thought we did that on purpose so that we could only have a few things, but we like really would go in depth on those. I don't know. I'm sort of looking at Mike frantically scanning notes. I'm sort of wondering if where we left sort of ours versus the public comment.
well, we had put ours together before we got all that public comment and then public input. So I did want us to look at the public input and go, what are the things we also want to get in there? So
I see what you're saying.
I think there was a lot more that, I mean, we're putting it in the comp plan. It doesn't mean that we're doing it all, So, and Sally did tell us to be, inclusive and put a lot in there and be, aspirational. So I think probably by next week, we probably won't have that done. So, but I will get us a meeting. And so are you still in Maine? So we can meet virtually, I guess.
Yeah. Can you tell I'm wearing a vest?
Oh,
right,
yeah.
friends.
Actually, I didn't even realize that. I've got a fan on me here, so lucky you. Okay, so that's on me to get our subcommittee together, which is the ad hoc subcommittee, so it's not subject to Open Meetings Act, and we won't have a quorum either. Under other issues, we had the composting proposal for the Old City landfill. We're going to talk about that when Betsy comes in September, and because that's in the CIP, Capital Improvement Plan. I know, Racine, you had sent us the projects, the development projects, which are this is not on our agenda, but you'd sent it to us, and wanted to ask you if there's anything that we should be taking a look at, anything that's got, forest conservation plan, plans that we should review.
I didn't take a look at it in that way, but I can, if you'd like, and follow up with an email.
Yeah, I think we should, I mean, I didn't have a chance to look it over yet either. So there was one that I had on my list, and it was Parole Place. Is there, did we get the forest stand delineation for Parole Place?
Give me 1 second and I will see if I can get that answer for you.
Evan, the spreadsheet says, oh, here you go.
Oh, okay.
Nice job, Bill.
The forest stand delineation is approved. Okay. Forest conservation plan is revisions. they're making revisions because they got comments on the forest conservation plan from planning and zoning, I'm assuming. Jackie or Racine?
I'm sorry, I was looking, I'm having some technical difficulty
Oh,
here.
okay, so it says that a forest stand delineation is approved, but how about the forest conservation plan? It says revisions. Forest conservation plan is under review, so we should have a look at that. So,
Well,
somebody,
it says pending revisions from applicant, so I think they're waiting to resubmit.
where is it?
Tom probably had changes, recommendations, and they have to redo it and resubmit.
Okay. So under the green box here, the FCA status is, it says FCP under review, but but that means we're under that status, we're waiting for a new application. All right, I'll contact Tom and see where that is and see if we can get it. Put that on my to-do list. Oh, I was typing on the wrong thing. All right, if anybody else has anything that they want to look at or discuss, I know I didn't get a chance to review this, so could I have a volunteer help me review this so we can?
Sure.
We need to look at. All right, Bill, was that you?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Bevan. Thanks, Bill.
Now, most of the time when there are updates, it's in red, if anything new has come in. So you can do a quick scan for any kind of bolded red comments. Those are new since the last update.
Okay. All right, and I do not have an update on Kitty Academy. We've commented on that a lot, and I don't know what happened with that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that one, because didn't they have to submit a revised, what is it, FCA, FCP, one of those plans?
Yeah, it was a revised plan, I think site plan, and I think Tom had told them on the revised one that he still was not in favor of it. So I don't know if they submitted it.
Okay.
But, that's another one we can ask Tom to check on. I think he basically said if they submitted the one that we all looked at last time, that he'd have to recommend against the project. So I'll check Tom on that one. All right. City Academy. Okay. So Racine, can you tell us what that's the status box is where it's like PD? What's the PD that says it's approved? Forest Conservation Plan revisions.
That says the FCA status.
Uh-huh.
So that would mean if it's in that column, then they've approved the FCA.
Mm-hmm. Forest Conservation Act, the FCA, or what?
FCA.
So what's the FCA? The Forest Conservation Plan's the plan, and then there's the stand delineation. So what's the Forest Conservation Act? So is that like the trees that they have to replant and stuff like that?
It should just say FSD and FCP.
Okay.
It's what it should say.
There's a column that says FCA status
Right.
And then you see those boxes that are in green that say that it was approved. The question is what was approved.
Right.
I always interchanged in my mind the FCP and the FCA.
Uh-huh.
Right.
All right, well, I will check in with Tom and see what's going on with that. And then Bill and I will review this and see if there's anything else, other plans that we need to get.
Okay.
All right, anybody have anything else? We are 4 minutes ahead of.
No, I just want to say, I provided you guys with current programs and initiatives. This is what I give to the Environmental Matters Committee as well now every month. And it's just so that you guys can be up to date on what we're doing in OEP and where the status of our programs and initiatives are. And I will update this every month for you.
Okay.
So I don't have to go through it. You know, we touched on a lot of these anyway, but it's just for your own information. And anyone who has any questions, you can contact me about it.
All right. So Mike, do you want to read out the action items that you have for this meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Kate said that she was going to follow up with the Critical Area Commission.
Mhm.
We're going to have a special meeting on July 15th to go over the draft document on the Public Works building comments that we got from Ann. I have, and then Bevan, you're going to look over the comprehensive plan and get together with a few of us to start pulling together the goals and strategies.
Mhm.
There'll be Kate said that she would work on a letter to the planning, the mayor and council, to the mayor's office. Let's see, mayor, city manager, and others about public access at the SAYC. That was an original part of the condition of approval way back when. Bevan, you're going to do a little follow up on the former Crystal Spring Providence the loophole that they've sort of created for themselves for 20 years down the road. Are you
Right,
gonna
I'm gonna ask John Turgeon to look at that language for us.
Okay. And I was going to sit in on the next meeting of the Environmental Matters Committee because they'll be looking at the ordinance for the deputy city manager position. Just to reiterate what our position is that we submitted in public comment a couple of months ago.
Okay. Right.
Those are the items I've captured.
I also had follow up with Betsy McEwen and Marcia to find out what happened with the funding for the gray infrastructure at Truxton Heights and whether that's coming from watershed restoration funds.
Yes. Well, I actually just forwarded it to Jackie and asked if she could test with them, but same idea.
Right.
Is there a way I can be joined or alerted or can be a part of the Environmental Matters meetings?
Well, they would be on YouTube. You could just simply watch or observe the meeting itself.
So it's at 3 o'clock on the 15th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and it's on the other YouTube channel, not this one, but the City of Annapolis YouTube channel.
So we are,
and I would
even unless we're on the agenda, we're only observers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to check them out. I've never seen one. So I know some of the people that are involved, but I've never been to them.
And I had a question. When you said you already submitted comments on that legislation, did you submit them to the council or to
It
the
was
Environmental
submitted-
Matters Committee. I just want to make sure that they know you submitted the
Council.
comments.
Submitted to council.
I'll check and make sure they're in Granicus.
And Mr. Turgeon is also going to be asked to review the easement language for the Crystal Springs. That was
Right.
an action item.
Okay, yeah, that's up to me. I was gonna ask him to do that, so.
Right, that's an act.
Right.
And then the other one was Ms. Gill will invite Ms. Cal McGowan to a September meeting to give an update on the facility and CIP projects.
And who was gonna invite Miss McEwen?
Ms.
Again?
Gill- Ms. Guild, I'm sorry, Guild.
Okay,
Ms.
okay.
Guild, I'm sorry.
Okay,
And I think I put down that they're also going to follow up with Ms. McEwen on the stormwater fee. You said that already.
right.
Yes, yeah.
And, okay. That's
Anybody
all.
have anything else? Okay,
Bevan, yes, I do actually have one other thing. On June 8th, Tikia Green forwarded us some legislation that had been referred to us by somebody for review, and it's related to the deputy city manager legislation 2020. Did we respond to that, or?
That's what I was referring to also. So that even if you had submitted comments informally, now that you've had a formal request for review, you should resubmit those comments formally.
Okay. So
Because they're not in the council record. I just checked.
Oh, okay.
and so should we be submitting them to?
To Takia Green, that's who sent
Okay.
the request. So,
Okay.
but when you submit comments unsolicited, they'll be in the public record as just like comments from any member of the community. But now that you've had a formal request for comment, it'll go on to Granicus and be available to all the council people.
Oh, okay, so we should resubmit to them, to her.
Submit to Takia, yeah.
Okay. And who had the letter, who had written the letter and submitted it to council?
I think it was Mike.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I have to resubmit that letter? Is that what, just to clarify, I'm hearing that correctly?
Yes,
Right.
yeah, you should say that the board is in favor of, opposed to, or commenting on the legislation, and then your comment.
And we'll look up that email and send it to you, Mike, to make sure you get it. Thanks, Kate. I thought we had.
Yeah, I knew there was something hanging out to talk about. That's the last item though.
All right, anybody else? Any other important things that we should not miss? All right, with no further comments, I think we're ready to adjourn at 9:03.
Second.
Do we need the motion to adjourn?
Okay. I motion to adjourn.
Okay, we'll do it anyway.
I second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. No, none opposed. Hearing none opposed, we are adjourned.